tonight, man. Alright, let's see if we're live. Are we live? No, we're not live, of course. Why would we be live? Are we live? Are we live? I don't know. Let's see if we're live. I think we're live. Are we? Alright, it looks like we're live. Okay, we're live. I think we have sound. I think we're good. Are we back up? Oh! Hi! Yeah, okay. Great Fedora. Yeah, I live in New York, Long Island specifically. Yes. Okay, I apologize for that. I'm gonna have to load a little bit back from where the stream died. I apologize, but thank you guys for hanging in there. Hopefully... okay, it looks like it's not frozen anymore. We should be good. Yeah, holler at me if anything else gets messed up. I'm watching the stream on my laptop, so I think we should be okay. I noticed it freezing too as well, but anyway, we're gonna pick back up from where we were last time. Okay. I had a good run, didn't I? Yeah, you wish you could be not noticed, but oh well. Yay, I'm back up. You live on Long Island too? Oh, I would want to ask where, but you don't have to type it in the chat if you don't want to. I could tell you if I live near you though. That's funny that you live on Long Island. Small world. By the time I got to the shop, Paul was waiting for me, along with a swarm of curious onlookers, all pretending to be there for food or some other activity. Probably brought to us by Mimi, who needs to stay in her fucking lane. They peered from behind their notebooks and strolled through the aisles of the school shop, eye straining to see the vast bag of chips and wrapped onigiri. I'm giving up on speaking tonight, you guys. Hey, Hana, glad you could make it. Yeah, me too. Paul led his way to the counter, where he ordered 2 vanilla ice cream cones with a dazzling smile. After a brief pause, he looked at me. Waiter, please cover one of those cones in sprinkles. Yay! Sprinkles! Oh, you know the way to her heart, apparently. The cafeteria worker heard my cry and chuckled. When Paul received the cones, one was so drenched in sprinkles you couldn't even see the vanilla. I bounced excitedly on my heels. Careful not to drop this one. I'm not the one who should be worried about that. Ice cream in hand, Paul led us away from the normal Boots Club table and to a table next to the window. We sat and soaked in the sunshine. It was a small change, but I had never seen the cafeteria from this angle. It made it feel special. You live around the center of Long Island. I live like kind of in the center, more off towards the west a little bit. But yeah. I'm close to you. We're close. We're close. Paul bit the tip of his ice cream and looked at me. I'm terrible at small talk when something is on my mind, so we'll skip it. Tell me how I can convince you to join the campaign. I slurped my ice cream and then chewed it thoughtfully. The sprinkles would definitely make my mouth look like a rainbow carnival. Note to self, try not to smile. Well, what would make me feel comfortable joining the campaign? I kicked my feet aimlessly under the table, gazing out the window. The temptation of spending time with Paul, exactly as we were now, was already something in his favor, but I really had no confidence I could be of any help. I barely knew Asagao, and people didn't care about me the way Paul seemed to think they did. Well, maybe now they knew my name, but it was not a positive association. Not for the girls, anyway. They're just jealous of you. I didn't know most things about how the student government worked, or how it helped the school, or what the needs were. Was it even a position that could affect things? Paul was watching me carefully, his breath held. As I gazed into his face, I realized I was missing a key component of the campaign. Why do you want to be president? Ah! Paul tapped his nose as if I asked the question. See, I'm not some great philanthropist or anything. I don't even think I can claim to have an unabashed, indiscriminate desire to do whatever I can to make the world a better place. When it came down to it, if I had to choose between taking care of my friends or taking care of strangers, I'd pick my friends first. I'm compassionate, but I'm not a martyr. Let's get that out of the way first. He furrowed his brow, rolling his neck out. This question is so hard. Every time I answer it differently. It's just that it matters so much. I don't know if I can give one answer that comes close to how I feel about it. Okay. He set his hand down on the table, tapping it rhythmically as he voiced his thoughts. So, let's say you want to make some kind of difference. And you have the whole entire world to go about doing that in, right? There's lots of stuff going on everywhere. Climate change, poverty, the literacy rate, water access. There's so much one person can do. But one person can't do all of it. You have to pick and choose your battles. Right now, my world is a lot smaller. He drew a tiny circle on the table. Right now, my world is Asagao and the Normal Boots Club. And while I was here years prior, I would walk around and see how ineffectual our student government was. Like, it was just a title. The people who read it got perks, like skipping class, but they didn't feel any responsibility to the student body. If you've noticed, all cultural activities are put on by the students of their own choosing. Jared's fashion show, John's play. And there was this major communication gap between the teachers and the students. Students were literally going mad with stress. Mr. McPasta used to sleep for only 4 hours a night. He was working so hard dealing with all of us. Oh, poor Mr. McPasta. And it wasn't like I was looking for a way to make the world better or anything. I just looked around and thought, hey, this isn't right. And I talked to Nick and Josh, and we came up with all these ideas for how it could be better. We were sitting there in our room congratulating ourselves for having figured out all these solutions, feeling really good about it and everything, and finally one of us just goes, why don't we actually do it then? Paul leaned back, his hand sliding into his lap. He seemed relieved. So we did it. That's how it happened. He just decided to go do it. Wait, what was the question again? Paul, you adorable. I pointed silently to the ice cream cone he set on the table, which was now forming a puddle on the laminate surface. Paul cursed and started licking around the cone, bent down like a dog. I threw some napkins on the table, then bit into my cone, watching him lap up the vanilla. So this was our student council president. I bit into the cone again. So undignified half the time. So unintentionally destructive. So gung-ho that he didn't even notice how his failures messed with the rest of us. I sighed and popped the rest of the cone into my mouth. Paul was drinking the vanilla out of his increasingly soggy cone, our conversation forgotten. I clasped my hands on the table. I'll do it.
What?
What? You will? You don't even know what my platform is yet. I mean, I haven't really made it, but it's fine. I'll do it. I want to help you. Paul raised an eyebrow at me, clearly confused about my sudden change of heart. I shook my head. I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, good. Great. In that case, we were planning to have a meeting tomorrow during lunch to get a strategy going. I'll be there. I smiled sadly at him. Are you sure you're okay? You don't seem really happy about this. I drummed my fingers against the table, wondering how to explain what just happened. Have you ever just kind of had something drop into your lap that you couldn't turn away no matter how you felt about it? I don't think so. I shrugged. It's hard to explain, but there's no way I could refuse. I need to be on this campaign with you. I just do. Paul stared at me in shock, then a small smirk quirked his lips. Well, well, I knew there was something special about you. He was clearly impressed with me, and it pricked me. I scanned the cafeteria, noting the people hovering just out of earshot. I think I'm going to head out. Okay, I'll walk you back. Paul gathered up the soggy napkins and stood, but I held out my hand. Please don't. Hana? I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Paul is trying so hard. Hana, don't you dare do this to him, please. Oh my goodness. Oh. Hana, that's not nice. That was not nice of you to do. I left him standing there in the cafeteria, quickly running through the hovering people out into the sunshine, gasping for air. The sun was setting. That conversation must have taken longer than I thought. I jogged back to the dorms, trying hard not to think about what happened. Trying very hard to ignore the sinking feeling that hit my stomach as I listened to him speak. But there was nothing for it. The damage was done. I walked into my room, hoping desperately Mai would be at practice or busy with something, but...
Hana!
Mai, you have to tell me everything! How did it go? Is he into you? Are you on the campaign? Man, you're going to kick total ass. I just know it. I knew you were destined for greatness. Mai grabbed my hand, jumping up and down. I avoided her eyes.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's wrong with you? I threw down my bag next to my desk and tried to take off my shoes with my feet. One came off easily, but the other, the right one, caught on my ankle, just like it always did. I tied the laces too tight once, and I never bothered to fix them when I put them on, so it always happened when I went to take them off. And now I was sitting there like a dilapidated penguin, and all I wanted was this stupid shoe off! Ah! I threw myself on the floor and ripped the shoe off with my hands. Mai watched me in silence. I put my head in my hands, covering my face, breathing deeply, trying hard not to let it show. Trying very hard not to let it show.
Hana.
Hana, are you okay? I shook my head slowly. Did you join when you didn't want to?
What a jerk!
Or did he do something bad to you again? I wiped my face with a hand. No, that's not the problem. I took a deep breath again, not wanting to talk while I was crying, but it was too late. The sentence opened the floodgates and I started sobbing on the floor. What happened then? Mai flew to my side, rubbing my back. Whatever happened, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure he didn't mean it, or you'll do great, or... I buried my head in her shoulder, shaking my head. I'm just being a baby. It's not really a bad thing at all. I just didn't want it to happen. I didn't think it would happen. I didn't know it could happen this way. How long are you going to talk around this? Just tell me what happened. I pulled my head back so I could see her face. It wasn't something I wanted to admit. I didn't even know how to admit it. It was something that had never happened before. But while sitting there and listening to Paul, listening to plain and utter compassion he had for people, oh no! Listening to how passionately he wanted to be the student council president and how he came to that decision. As he spoke, I felt a terrible sinking feeling in my stomach. I looked out the window then. The cherry blossom tree that had been blooming during the flower festival was losing its petals, and I watched another fall to the ground in slow motion. So this is what it feels like, I thought. I'm in love with Paul, and I don't even understand how it happened. Oh, Hana! Oh my gosh! No! Sweetheart, no! Mai's hands froze for a second. Then she started rubbing my back yet again. I waited for her to tell me that I was blowing things out of proportion or jumping to conclusions, but she said nothing. When I looked up at her, she was shaking her head, staring at the wall. That's just how things fall sometimes, Hana. Yeah, seriously! This girl's head over heels in love with Jared, and he's not paid her a single mind until just now, recently. At some point, I was able to calm myself and look at the situation realistically. Feelings were feelings, and I couldn't control them. At some point, they'd pass or go away, and if they didn't, I'd find a way to deal with them. Besides, I had no way of knowing whether this was truly love. I never experienced it before, after all. I was going on my gut instinct, but plays had been written about why teenagers trusting their gut instinct was a terrible idea. I managed to make it through class the next day with my sanity intact. It's called Continue the News. Dear diary. God, it felt like planets collided or something. I took a step back from my own body and just kind of laughed at what was happening while it was happening. It's so stupid, but maybe it was fate? No, come on, Hana, be real about this. Planets collided! He talked about how badly he wanted to help people, and she just got smashed with the face like, oh my god, I'm in love with this guy, and he doesn't even notice me. Oh my god, what's going on? Oh, poor Hana! Oh, this poor girl. When the bell rang, I stood from my chair and gave Mai a huge thumbs up. I nodded, but otherwise ignored her. I didn't need a thumbs up. I needed sanity. As I headed through the hallway, I began to notice something weird. People were pointing at me, shocked looks on their faces like I was wearing a blood-red clown nose. That's her. Doesn't look like much. I bit my lip. Just because I was helping with the campaign? It seemed like an odd thing for people to be so concerned about. Maybe Paul was right and this really was a good publicity move? It wasn't until I stepped outside and saw the newspapers in the rack that I understood. Oh no! No! Oh my gosh! Hold on, that's my cell phone, you guys. Hold on, I need to turn off my alarm. Oh, Jesus Christ. Really? Really? Oh my god. President dating campaign assistant? Oh no. We've received an anonymous tip, and by anonymous I'm sure they mean Mimi, that Hana Mizuno, third-year transfer student from Amaririsu, is the secret weapon that Paul Ritchie spoke of. However, sources are divided on how this weapon is supposed to function. It appeared that they were engaging in a human activity one would call a date or an outing, our anonymous source reported. Perhaps she gives him the moral strength required to operate in a civilly unjust society. This sounds like it was written by Kakusu. Regardless of the motive, one thing is certain. This couple has caught the public's eye. Here's hoping for a happy ending. I flung the newspaper back on the rack and stalked towards the cafeteria, mind racing. This was not what I wanted to happen. This was the opposite of what I wanted to happen. See, but then Paul's gonna think that you don't like him when you're really in love with him. It's gonna... Oh, God. Oh, God. No, the cell phone. No, that was my reminder to take a pill. It's fine. I took my allergy pill. It's fine. We're all good. We're all okay. So why was I smiling so much? Well, Hana, if you were smart, maybe you could use it to try and get in with Paul. Go for it, girl. Friendly competitions. Oh, yay. Dear Diary, what I want to know is who reported the news to that stupid article. Oh no, guys, it's that time when I panic all the time when my laptop's dying. Okay, here we go. We've got power, we're good. The way the person spoke sounded familiar. It sounds like Kakusu. I doubt it was one of the Hidden Block members. They're not so petty and they weren't around, but who? One of the girls I know. If I find out, I'm gonna punch her. Or not, but I'll secretly be very mad about it. It's definitely Kakusu. That was Kakusu speak. That was her mechanical Kakusu speak. I got my ham and bologna sandwich. I didn't feel like anything any more complicated. And scanned for the lunchroom for the section that had the most frenzied activity. As expected, Paul, Nick, and Josh were at that table. And grinned at me. I went to meet them, contemplating how I should bring up the newspaper article. As I sat down, they cleared their throats. I'm Paul. Oh, here we go, guys. We're getting the intro. I'm Nick, and I'm Josh.
Right.
And welcome to our campaign team. Yes, thank you. That was fantastic. From beneath the table, they drew out small confetti poppers and pulled them. Confetti sprang onto my face, small clouds of smoke drifting across the tabletop. We're glad to have you! Yes, truly glad, truly blessed. You have no idea how much this means to us, to me in particular. I'm sure you'll be a very valuable asset. Your perspective is highly valued. Josh nodded to himself and Nick shot him a glare. I dusted the confetti off my head, glaring at them. So, about the campaign. Right! There's something I need to tell you. Part of the reason my remaining president is so important is because last year I implemented a 2-year plan. I laid the groundwork for students to be able to petition Asagao Academy for school funding for various interests, and then I spent all of that year challenging decades-old legislation that prevented, certain groups from fully expressing themselves, I'll say. It took forever, but I got it done. This year is the year we're actually going to do something with that legislation by throwing school-wide festivals and holidays and to learn and celebrate all sorts of different things, including the tournament. He grinned broadly at me. There's other stuff than just the tournament in there, right? Oh yeah, lots of genuinely important stuff, but I wanted to throw us all a bone too. We're lucky it falls on a Saturday this year. Last year we had to create a distraction because Jared couldn't afford to skip a day of class. I convinced Mr. Saitomo I was a rare breed of werewolf that turns in broad daylight, and we had to get Mr. McPasta to help us. Hashtag bless, yes. Why on earth would Mr. McPasta help with that? Nick shrugged. He's a weird dude, but he's a nice guy. If If it's for a laugh, he'll do it. I think he just wants to see the reaction. Plus, he seems kind of into stuff like that. Nick jerked his thumb across the cafeteria, and I saw Mr. McPasta peering closely at a string of raw beef, a malicious grin on his face. So we've been trying to decide on our strategy this year, but we haven't got any idea what to do. See, Josh pushed forward, setting his hands on the table and staring me down like a lion. If you ask me, we need to leave people alone. Keep the whole election on the down low, meeting our competition's campaign efforts but never exceeding them. We want the election to fall away from people's minds so that when the ballot rolls around, they go with a comfortable face. That doesn't sound like a good plan to me, actually. And apparently Nick agrees. That's a terrible idea. We need to win their hearts, not to hope they forget we exist. If we can make them like Paul, if we can make them think he would be a cool dude to get a drink with or someone they can relate to, they're bound to vote for him. Plus, they'll trust how he runs things. I thought we should talk actual platforms. Tell people what we're planning on doing. You did that last year, and because of all that legislation, you don't have much to show for it. We can't do that, or they won't believe you. Your plan is basically the same thing. They'll still think he won't be able to do anything. People want to stick with the status quo, and if we play our cards right, we can use that to our advantage. I don't want to manipulate anybody either, and I don't like sitting and waiting for stuff to happen. I like to be proactive. Yeah, too proactive. Ouch, that hurts. I watched them bicker between themselves, waiting for a lapse in the conversation so I could get a word in edgewise, but one never came. After 7 minutes of watching them tread the same ground, I raised a timid hand.
Hana!
Right, Hana! You're the level-headed one. This is exactly why what we wanted you for. What should we do?
What?
Wait, now I'm in charge of the decision? Paul nodded and pointed at me. It was clear the ball was in my court. Oh, this game! Well, I assume to romance Paul, we would probably want to side with him, which would be to talk platforms. I think playing defensively is a horrible idea. Winning their hearts and minds might be good, but if Paul really wants people to take the school presidency seriously, he really has to be serious about making these changes. So I would say talk platforms. And indeed, that is the correct answer. So yeah, we're gonna side with Paul here. Paul's eyes glittered. I knew you'd see it my way. I didn't like being put on the spot like that. Having to make decisions all of a sudden was not my strong suit. BAM! There's that fourth wall again! Moreover, having to choose between people is not like something I like to do, even if they themselves weren't taking it to heart. As I watched, Paul, Nick, and Josh started discussing tactics for the tournament. Well, Nick's really good at grabs for some reason, so if the other person gets in close combat, we won't be able to tag out fast enough. By then they'll have scooted away. Then maybe I should go in first instead of you? I ate my sandwich slowly and gazed across the cafeteria. Mai and the rest of the Normal Boots crew were laughing about something. Mai was inching closer and closer to Jared with each passing second. Get it, Mai? She reached up to tap him on the shoulder and he swerved away to talk to Shane as if he didn't even notice. Well played, Jared. You think, Hana? Huh? You weren't listening, were you? Josh sighed heavily, then rubbed his temples. I can't work with this. I can't work with her. Paul wants you to go with him to the interview.
What?
Interview? It's on PB&J, so it's not a big deal. It'll be exactly like hanging out with the guys. Don't worry. Paul, I really don't think I should. I'm not good at that kind of thing. Of course you are. Don't count yourself out before you even try. Hana does a lot of that. I'm not. I know how I get in front of crowds. It's really not for me. Paul rolled his eyes. I'm sure you'll be great if you give it a try. It's not even a crowd, it's just two guys. Please, listen to me.
Alright.
It's decided, you're coming with me. Oh, this is where the problems begin, you guys. A shiver passed down my spine. Why weren't they listening to me? Just before I was the only one who could decide on things, and now my opinion didn't count? I stared at my plate. I wasn't hungry anymore. I think I'm gonna head back. Really? Let me come with you then. Paul stood and Nick and Josh stood as well. We're coming too! Sorry, but I wanted to talk to Hana alone. Josh and Nick looked annoyed at this turn of events, but I couldn't tell whether it was because Paul was taking me away from them or because I was hogging Paul. Dejected, they sat back down and started debating the realities of spider tea parties. I'm just saying an actual spider would kill everyone. Pff, how? Venom tea? Maybe. Paul and I tossed our trays, then headed out to campus. I really wasn't planning on having him follow me, but maybe now is a good time to talk to him about that article. Are you feeling better today? What? Paul searched my face, but what he was looking for I didn't know. I blushed and looked away. You were really sad yesterday, so I was wondering. Oh, yeah, I guess I'm better now. I just felt sick is all. Paul nodded. The campus was truly beautiful in the spring sunshine. There was a light breeze, and as I looked at the buildings we passed, I was reminded again of how well off Asagao was. The walkways were spick and span, the hedges perfectly trimmed. It wasn't a surprise the campus was a hive for rumors. So many rich kids and no city to play in. So, Paul, have you seen those rumors? Yo, Paul, have you seen those rumors? Apparently the correct answer is, never mind. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he started them just because he thought it would be good for publicity, and if that's true, then I'm just gonna bop him in the head. Paul, why? What exactly was I hoping to accomplish by bringing it up? It was either going to make it really awkward or make him feel bad. There wasn't anything he could do to do it, stop short of not speaking to me anymore, or outright proclaiming it in some form of media. I wasn't sure I really wanted that. Maybe, for now at least, I could enjoy it. It was a fantasy after all. A silly fantasy, but a fantasy nonetheless. Paul leaned towards me again. Are you sure you're okay? Yes, I'm fine. Geez, you'd think I was dying or something, the way you worry. I can't help it. I feel responsible for you for some reason. Yeah, well, don't. Even though I want you to, don't. I shook my head. Poppy Hall rose in front of us, tall and imposing, a Georgian feel to its architecture. Like, oh my god, like, why can you not see that Paul is so thirsty for you, Hana? Paul held open the door for me. After you. He bowed in front of me, and with a giggle I headed inside. As we entered, I noticed an audible volume drop, as if people saw us and stopped talking. As if they were talking about us and didn't want to be overheard. It wasn't long before I realized why. Whoa! Okay! What is this? Okay. Alright, no, this is not okay with me, and let me tell you why. Jeff, the pure cinnamon roll that he is, I don't think that this is something that he would do. Immediately, this seems completely fishy to me. Also, that's really kind of a clever smear campaign, but no, this is not cool. This is not cool, alright? You fucking slander my boy, like, no, this is not okay. The walls are lined with what could be best described as posters for a smear campaign. Yeah, seriously. Paul's face was crossed out in all of them. Continue? No, shouted at us from every inch of the walls. Paul's original campaign posters were nowhere to be seen. Paul stepped up to a row of lockers and tore down an image, holding it in front of him. Did Jeff do this? Why would he do this? It's not like him. Yes! Yeah! Green Fedora! Hold my earrings! I'm gonna fight someone! Yeah, seriously! I'm about to be, yo, take my rings, hold my earrings. There's about to be a fight. Seriously. Oh, so there's somebody else that is either manipulating Jeff or using Jeff's name to accomplish something, because I really don't think this is Jeff. This is not something he would do. I agree. Paul. Now that I was looking at the posters in his hands, I could see there was a small writing etched on the bottom of the poster. Paul is the bastard son of a tanuki. There's no way we could prove he's really human, and you shouldn't trust people who aren't human. What? What? I'm so confused. What are we going to do? What if people actually believe this? The look on his face broke my heart. I reached out to touch his arm, and he finally looked up from the poster and at me. Oh no, my heart! Oh, ow! Oh, that was a shot to the heart. Look at his face. Oh, look at his face. Oh, Paul. Yeah, $5 on Mimi? It sounds like Mimi and Kakusu together, man. I blame Mimi for everything, really. I say let's blame Mimi. Okay, Green Fedora and I have decided it's Mimi's fault. That's it. Game over. Paul, kiss me. Let's go out. Let's leave. We're done. It's Mimi's fault. We're blaming her. It's so clearly not serious. People are smarter than to believe this kind of thing, right? I bet that's why Jeff did it. Half as a joke. Paul sighed. I would love to give the general populace more credit, but fear-mongering and rumors, even when they're ridiculous, have a way of impacting people. GMO hate, yeah! I mean, why would somebody believe something stupid like, you know, GMOs are hurtful. People don't understand science. Anyway, I just want to hug him and be like, Paul, please. You don't know that for sure. Paul shot me a look and I trailed off. He also must have noticed the way the conversation died when we walked into the room. If I can't continue being the president this year, my 2-year plan will be left behind and forgotten. I worked all last year on that. I should have done something more flashy. Nobody knew that I was trying to help them. Nothing happened after all my promises. They thought I was just goofing off, and now they don't trust me. If I'd just known. Paul crumpled the flyer in his fist and threw it on the ground. I reached out and rubbed his back, looking fearfully around the hallway. Students had gathered and were watching us. Some were pointing while others seemed uncomfortable with his outbursts and scurried away. Don't worry about this, Paul. We'll figure out a way to fix it. Oh, we will. His face darkened and I took my hand from his back. We definitely will. Don't give in to the darkness, Paul. Oh, what the hell, Jeff? Oh, God. I really don't think it's Jeff, though. Dear Diary, I feel like I can't keep up with these boys. I don't know how to interact with them. Every time I want to add something, they talk. They don't wait for me, and when I do get to speak, it's just because they put me on the spot. Maybe I just don't belong with them. Everything will be okay, girls. Fine. Paul stalked off shortly after, claiming he needed to find a safe place to let off some steam. I let him go. I had some steam of my own to let off. Jeff! Oh, Jesus Christ! Jeff, who had been leaning over our desk talking with Ian, shot up straight as a rod. I stared up at him, shaking with rage. Why did you do that? Jeff swallowed but smiled half-heartedly.
What?
What did I do? Don't act like that with me, Jeff. I know you're smarter than that. How could you do something like that to Paul? Jeff glanced away from me for a sec or two, then looked at me again. I don't see anything wrong with it. It's not like people are going to believe them. It's a lighthearted and funny way to campaign against him. So he called that he was just playing an opposite joke, but obviously... Lighthearted? Rumor mongering? It was a joke. Paul's got charisma. He's got magnetism to him, and he's got the bonus of having been president last year. Comparatively, I've got little to go off of. People don't really know me as funny, so I thought a way to throw humor into the mix. I don't see what's wrong.
No!
People are going to believe them! People aren't that stupid, Hana. You're not doing them justice. He folded his arms, mind apparently made up. No matter what I said, he was sticking with the posters. If it makes you feel any better, I helped him put them up. Alright, Ian! I'm gonna knock that fucking pretty hair right off of your head, dude. I glared incredulously at Ian. Why would that make me feel better? I don't know, but it was worth a shot. Oh god, Ian is still the best character in this game! He's hands down the best. Jeff. Jeff. Ah! Why? I'm gonna strangle that pretty face of yours, dude. Ah! I threw up my hands and marched back to my desk. That was it. It was on. This meant war. Paul would win this campaign if it was the last thing I ever did. As soon as the bell rang, I packed my bags and ran to the door. Hana, wait!
See you later.
Sorry, a really important election business here. I sprinted to the 4th floor and managed to catch Paul right as he was coming out of class. Paul, we need to hold a meeting immediately to discuss our strategy. We stared at each other in surprise. Oh my god, that was so cute! Great Fedora. Look, Ian is, I have to say, out of every character in this game, Ian is by far my favorite. He's non-stop laughs, that guy. I love him. I see, I picked the perfect campaign manager. Well, where are the other two? Paul pointed to the classroom behind him where Nick and Josh were thumb wrestling as if their lives depended on it. Josh crumpled to the ground under the pressure of Nick's thumb, tears leaking from his eyes. I will not give in! You'll lose your thumb if you don't! They've got cleanup duty and they're wrestling for it. Let's just have the meeting in there then. We can help them clean up. Another great idea from our campaign manager. He slapped me on the back with a chuckle. Yet you think you won't be good on the broadcast? I can't believe this. Paul, you're not going to force me to do it, are you? Paul pushed me into the room, bypassing a confused Satch and Jared on the way. Don't worry. We have more important things to discuss right now anyway. I figured that between the three of us, the classroom would get cleaned in no time. I should have known better. Plot twist, it was the actual last thing Hana ever did. Oh no! The three of them fought each other constantly, using each new cleaning tool as a weapon. Mops became lances, brooms became throwing lances, cleaning sprays a pepper spray equivalent. I cleaned silently on my own, working quickly to make up for the messes they started. That's not indicative of this entire route. By the time we were done, my head was throbbing and I wanted to murder someone. Couldn't they see the strain they were causing other people? Or were they really too wound up in their own worlds to care? No wonder Paul wanted me to be their campaign manager. I was probably the only person passive enough not to up and walk out. I chuckled, and as if on cue, Paul stood. Okay, my friends and loved ones, as you can see, we have a bit of a situation on our hands. The enemy is using dirty tactics in order to destroy our main line of defense, my good reputation. He started pacing through the room, the movement calming my tired eyes and making it easier to focus. He seemed to be the kind of person who moved a lot when he spoke. The kind of person who had a lot of energy and passion and nowhere necessarily to put it. That must have been how he managed to stay in a club and run a newspaper on top of his presidency. How on earth he found so many things that caused his passion? Here I was, coming to Asagao more to escape something than to pursue something, and this kid was picking up meaning like pretty leaves in fall. I think there's only one thing we can do. He smacked a fist into his palm, eyes burning. We strike back! What? Nick and Josh roared and jumped to their feet, tribal dancing around Paul. I stared at them. You can't be serious. We have to fight fire with fire. I'm not going to sit back and take this. Sit back and take... what? A bit of name-calling? Oh, jeez. I blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of what was happening. Mai's words floated back to me. Sometimes that happens, you know. They seem great until you spend all your time with them. But... Huh. Well, that's not what I want is clearly not the thing I want to choose. Maybe what is that going to accomplish? I would say that's... Oh! Apparently the answer is that's not what I want. Okay. Paul rubbed his chin carefully. Okay. Then what do you want? I want the student body to want to vote for you, Paul. Not to not want to vote for Jeff. There is a difference. Paul's eyebrows shot to the ceiling, but Josh scoffed. It's what happens in the end that matters, not how you get there. How draconian of you. More Draco Malfoy, if you ask me. Paul searched my eyes for a bit. Hana, you... I glared at him, trying to tell him all I wanted to say through my eyes. No matter what, it wasn't right. There was no way I would be able to hold my ground, not with all three of them against me like they were. But if Paul could understand how I felt about it, maybe then he wouldn't let it happen. If you do that, then I'm leaving this campaign. You'd actually... I wasn't trying to join a group of bullies. I was trying to join to make some kind of a difference. That's what I thought mattered to you. Of course, saving face is legit too. If you're concerned about your pride, then by all means, continue with what you're doing. I doubt it'll have the effect you're wanting it to, though. People who only want to take from other people never earn others' respect in the end. Are you implying that Paul is like that? I shrugged, my heart beating rapidly. I didn't know what I was implying, but I knew what I was thinking, and my thinking was that I didn't want to be around a person like that. I didn't want to be friends with a bully. I wasn't about to let rumors ruin somebody else's life just because I stood to gain something from it. Paul and I stared at each other, passing through an absurd kind of stalemate. No. Hana's right.
What?
I am? Wait a minute, I am? Wait, I wasn't expecting that. She is? She is. He smirked, then shook his head.
All right.
I knew there was some fire in you. Would you mind telling me these things? I'd love to know more about who you think I am. Paul crowed and clapped his hands. See, she's got a mouth on her. He jumped up and down and I frowned at him, feeling like an elephant in a circus tent. Do you mind? Right. Sorry. If we're not doing that, then our next best bet is to... He glanced at me, Nick, and Josh. Neither of us said anything. Confront him? I already did that, actually. He insists they saw it as a joke. A joke? They? Ian helped. I knew that poster was too clever to be Jeff.
All right.
All right. Paul smacked his hand on the desk, grinning wildly. We're going to win this campaign no matter what. Got it? That was already the plan. Yeah, well, now it's Plan 5.0. And there's no room for mistakes in Plan 5.0. Got it? I guess so. If you understand, put your hands in. He nodded to his hand on the desk. Nick and Josh threw their hands on top of his, and all three turned to look plainly at me. Hana? I sighed and put my hand in too.
Yeah.
Wonderful. To presidency and the tournament. May we win it all. Ha! Paul threw his hand up into the air all by himself. Nick, Josh, and I followed a second later, a belated heh escaping from our lips. Yeah, Hana laid down that law, man. We gotta work on that, first of all. He put his hand on the desk again and nodded for us to get into formation. I followed suit, head spinning. What had I gotten myself into? That's a good question. Alrighty, chapter 3, and this is probably a good part for me to stop for the night. And I could pick back up tomorrow at my normal 7 p.m. Eastern streaming time. I think this is actually the perfect place to stop because we're right at the beginning of chapter 3. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Green Fedora, thank you so much for following and joining. I'm so excited to have you tonight. Thank you to everybody for stopping by. Thank you to Katrina and to Spike for the hosts. Your support has meant so much to me. I've loved meeting all you guys and seeing the reactions to the streams and to the videos on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for all the love and support. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.